The old Crusader trudged through the ancient forest. It was completely dark, save for the rays of blood-red moonlight that sporadically leaked through the treetops. A heavy fog saturated the woods, further obscuring his vision. He felt rushed and fearful, as though he was running from something, though he knew not what. He wanted to run, but anything faster than a careful pace led him to quickly lose his footing. "Where am I?" he asked aloud. He could not remember where he was that morning, or where he had been just before entering this gloomy place. He wore the surcoat of a Templar knight, the red cross, a comfortable symbol on his chest. But when he looked down at his armor, even in the faint light, he saw the dark crimson of stained blood. Crusted blood covered his entire body. It was caked on his clothing and still wet on parts of his armor. "Why am I here?" he uttered aloud. He hadn't donned the garb of a Crusader in years. How he wore it now was as obscure to him as his current whereabouts. The forest felt alive. It watched him. The sensation was unlike anything else he could imagine. The sting that came from feeling eyes upon him was not of paranoia, but of guilt and deep springs of shame. "Do you feel it, Templar?" The voice came in a whisper, yet somehow echoed throughout the woods. "Tell me, Christoph, how does it feel to have your comrades' blood upon you? Better their blood spilt than yours, I suppose. Who are you?" Christoph looked around in desperation. "An imp, Christoph. I am an imp. Your father was a lover of great art, a maker of tapestries. It was your desire after the crusade was over to one day take up his mantle as a collector, even a creator yourself of beautiful things. And you've done very well making a life for yourself. But now it seems you're just one more soul lost in the woods." "How do you know me?" asked Christoph, looking this way and that, trying to peer through the darkness. "Reveal yourself!" Then there was silence. An eerie wind caressed the leaves. The cold air chilled Christoph to his bones. He shuddered. There was something horrifying about this forest, a primal fear, not of beasts nor of men, but of isolation. Yet more than anything else, the gray-haired Crusader felt sadness and regret. "Christoph!" a voice came from behind him. "You let us die! You abandoned us!" He turned around to see a hideous sight. His old comrade, a brother in arms, Luke, covered in muck and blood and pus. He was completely naked, and his skin was yellow and rotting. "Luke, how are you here? What happened to you?" "The very same thing that should have happened to you. You left us all. You were our commander." "Luke, no. I had no choice. I had to run. There was no hope for any of you." Another voice arose, this time to his left. "You left us!" followed by a sickly chorus of others, all repeating the same three words. The gory, naked bodies of his dead fellows lumbered at him from all sides, their eyes sullen, their mouths gaping black maws, dripping with bile and decay. "You left us! You left us!" They surrounded Christoph in a large circle. Some of them were obscured by the trees and brush, but the outlines of their dark shapes were still visible. He could sense them near. His breath was shallow. A gentle breeze that reminded him how real everything was caressed his cheek. And all was still for a moment as he peered in the eyes, or at least the lifeless sockets that once housed his comrade's eyes. They suddenly moved with inhuman speed. He felt as if his heart had stopped. The animated corpses of his former friends now reached for him. In their deep sockets he could sense a hatred and a longing so pure, so palpable, he could scarcely keep his own eyes open. The sudden realization that guilt and remorse could become a physical agent tortured him with painful realities. He felt the slime of their hands as they gripped his body. Out of fear and guilt, he wanted at that moment more than anything else to die, and die quickly. "This isn't real," he said. You're all dead. All of you are dead. You're all dead! Then there was nothing. A hollow silence pervaded, and Kristoff looked around. To his amazement, there was nothing in the woods besides himself. Was it just him? A hallucination? Only that made sense. But the stench of death and anger had been so strong. You've been walking towards the center of these woods. It was the voice of the imp. There's no way back, Crusader. You must continue your journey. As directed, Kristoff continued forward, hesitating only for a moment. The dim and bloody moonlight had not improved, but somehow he felt as if he knew his way better than before. He felt now as though instead of stumbling in the dark, he was walking towards a beckoning call. Even if this was all in his mind, it was still just as real as anything else. No, this was the most real event of his life. There was no more escaping guilt and regret, only facing it, head on. You're walking down a trail, Crusader. Do you not see? This path was cut for you. Kristoff squinted his eyes, and to his amazement, he realized that he was walking down a trail, though he knew not when he had entered it. The path was clear of brush as far as he could see and straight. Wisps of dark fog grew thicker. He continued forward into the gloom. Imp, he said, where does this trail lead? To me, and to the center of your soul. He continued walking, and he thought to himself, how many years had he lived a happy and fulfilling life, after his friends had died when he had not? How many beautiful memories did he have that they would never know? He coveted his own life, the years spent in bliss after the Crusades, and yet he envied his fallen comrades who died without guilt, with nothing on their conscience but undiminished honor. He wanted to turn back, but something compelled him forward. The crackling of branches to his sides, the rustle of bushes, all made him feel increasingly paranoid. Yet his heart wasn't pounding as it did before. He felt his neck. There was nothing. No heartbeat, no pulse, just stillness. He found himself laughing. Am I dead already? You're almost there, Kristoff. Come. Don't you see the clearing ahead? Kristoff saw a light in the distance. It was the same dim, blood-red moonlight, but it shined harder and brighter. He kept walking and saw that it was a clearing ahead, and without the coverage of trees, the red moon shone very bright indeed. Congratulations, said the voice as he entered the clearing. There in the center of a large circular patch of grass sat a strange humanoid creature on a simple wooden chair. Before him was a small table and another chair also. On the center of the table was a goblet, filled with some black liquid. Come, sit, beckoned the creature. With cautious hesitation, Kristoff sat on the chair before him, and saw as clearly as he could in the red light the visage of the imp, his face long and angular, his skin craggy and old. A tail sprouted from behind his back, and saw his long ears stretched back behind his head. Kristoff, it is a pleasure. I've been watching you for some time, you know. Tell me, imp, where am I? What is this place? Am I dreaming? Is any of this real? You are dreaming, Kristoff, but I assure you this is very real, and no ordinary dream. You've been stricken with the fever for days. Your family looks over your unconscious body now, their faces filled with worry. You could easily die at any moment. I figured now was a good time to visit you. In my dream? Yes. What do you want from me? Who were those creatures? Come now, Christophe, we don't have time for questions you already know the answer to. They were your friends, the ones you left to die so that you may live. Indeed, that is the event that gave me claim to you, the decision you made that gave me claim to you. No one has claim to me, Imp. I'm my own man. Everyone has a quota, Christophe. Everyone. Yes, you see, I'm sort of like a collector myself. My work is full of contracts and debts to be paid, agreements to be worked out, and a quota to be filled. You made a choice before. You made the choice to have them die so that you may live. Now you will have the opportunity to make another choice. You are dying. Your heart is failing. You will die unless you agree to save yourself. I can guarantee you never see hell, if you agree to send your friends there. They wait for you in limbo. I can make you survive this fever. You'll live on happy for the rest of your life. Decades more, I swear. I'm not dying. Of course you are. You're stricken with a terrible fever, one that will kill you. This is only your dream, after all. Your hallucination. Only in such places can one like me visit you before you are dead. But everything here feels so real. And yet, I know it can't be. Very real indeed. Just like hell. I will surely awake soon. This has no meaning other than my own fit. I've simply passed out from too much drink, that's all. Christophe began to stand up. I wouldn't count on it, Crusader. You see, sin of action can be judged quickly. There's no need for my kind there. Sin of thought, especially in the likes of your case, treacherous thought, requires deeper consideration, requires nuance. So that you may, what? Take me to hell? Christophe, I do have a quota. There was a moment, Christophe, when you begged for your life. You were surrounded by the enemy, and in your desperation, begged. You said, let them die, but please, let me live. Such selfish acts of cowardice, such wanton inhumanity. Those are my payday. One needs money even in hell these days. No, said Christophe. I never said that. Not out loud, but you did say it. For a brief moment in your own mind, you said it. You called for their death to preserve your own, and you miraculously escaped. And now you're at the end of a stolen life, a life you owe to me. No debtor of any respectability does his own labor, Christophe. I was the agent sent for your soul to make certain that you still qualify. I didn't mean it. I didn't want them to die because of me, or for me. But you certainly didn't regret that they did. And now, here you are, dying yourself. No one can escape death, only flee from it for a time. The imp smiled widely. But I never said it, not out loud. I admit, in my mind, in my weakness, I wished for anyone's death other than my own. But I was strong enough to not utter it, not be so callous, so arrogant, so selfish as to say it out loud. I truly believed that there was no saving them, but that I was far enough from the battlefield that I could escape to my family. I never said it out loud, but Christophe, in your own mind, you did say it. And I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I said it. But I do not want hell. I don't want to die. If they're already in limbo, perhaps they'd understand. Of course, Christophe. The old Crusader seemed ready to weep, but no tears came from his eyes. I betrayed them once already. Does it really matter if I betray them again? I'm already past redemption in their eyes, but to live the rest of my life happily, and to be in paradise with my family after death. Surely my comrades would understand. How could they not, Christoph? They won't even know they're in hell because of you. It'll be like you had nothing to do with it. You can think of this as all having just been a dream. Just declare your decision out loud and drink the liquid before you. That's all you have to do. Christoph paused for a moment. He looked at the imp and down at his own hands. I'll see my wife again? Yes. And my children. They will be happy and healthy too. Of course, Christoph. Just declare it and drink. Yes. Why should my family suffer more because of my loss, or bear my absence from heaven simply because of a mistake of my past? Finish it, Christoph. Say it, and drink this liquid, and our bargain will be sealed. Slowly, Christoph reached for the cup. It was icy to the touch. He brought it close to his lips, then said, "There's nothing I can do for them now. It should have been me who was taken, not them. They were noble, I was weak. I deserve death. I deserve hell. Imp, tonight, no pure soul will go to hell. Because you'll be taking me. No! Take me! Do not take my comrades. Spare them of pain. Give them the paradise they deserve. I deserve nothing but suffering. I give my soul to hell. Let all others dwell in the paradise they deserve." Christoph grasped the goblet and drank. The liquid was thick and smelled of corpses, but it did not have the metallic taste of blood. The imp looked disappointed. "Then so be it, Crusader. Suffering is what you shall have." The drink was as pure rot entering his guts. His insides boiled. He felt the liquid creep up into his esophagus and through his intestines. He felt as though pure pain began to course through his veins. He screamed in agony, his body convulsing, and looked at his hands once more. They were rotting. He was a corpse, yet he felt nothing. Then he felt everything. It felt as though every nerve in his body was being teased with razors. His insides boiled as though his intestines were writhing in torment. He screamed and he screamed as the imp washed over him. The agony seemed to continue for hours, a lifetime of pain compressed into a single moment. He contorted and twisted, and he lost all measure of time. And then the pain suddenly stopped, and Christoph couldn't feel his body. There was nothing. He was removed from himself and his body, until he felt a warmth fill him. From overhead shone a white light, beaming powerfully. He looked up, but had to cover his eyes. The intensity was greater than 1,000 suns. He felt warm and comfortable. He felt relief. His body began to float as a single beam of light carried him upward. It tore through the gloom and eviscerated the darkness. The imp looked at him as he ascended, the creature's narrow eyes squinting in the presence of the light. "I'm disappointed, Christoph. Your redemption is my loss, and now I'm behind on my quota. You'd best be grateful, Crusader."